Hey guys, Adrian here, and today in this Brute Shoot, we're going to discuss a question that I got via a check-in this week, and it's something that I've received, I guess not concerns about, but just curiosity about in regards to athletes in general in the CrossFit space. And this actually can carry over into any athletic endeavor that you might pursue in general. But the question was, and revolves around the CrossFit Games. So it was, Adrian, how can athletes be so close in general measurables, such as the athletes that are number 1 at the CrossFit Games down through 30th at the CrossFit Games in their snatch, their clean and jerk, their 1 mile run, their Fran time. There were a couple other measurables mentioned, their max set of muscle-ups and bar muscle-ups, and these general skill sets or tests that you might see commonly align with athletes. How can these measurements be so similar, and then yet we see an athlete like Mat Fraser run so far away from the competition in a 4-day test, right? How does this happen? And I think that we could get into a lot of different reasons. There are probably a million and one different explanations to why this really happens, but there are a few that stand out in my mind specifically. One is going to be athletic background, right? And I say that because your history in competition and your experience at a high level of competition is going to generally reflect your ability to perform at a high level at the CrossFit Games. There are some athletes who have literally grown up in the CrossFit space where the biggest crowds that they've performed in front of are the people at their gym in the open or even at the regional level. And so the experience in that game day atmosphere might not be very high, right? And so we look at an athlete like Mat Fraser where he's had essentially, this might sound dramatic, but his life on the line when executing Olympic lifts in front of a very silent crowd. Maybe it's not the biggest crowd in the world, but he put his whole life on pause to pursue the sport of Olympic lifting as a profession. That deems a lot of pressure on an individual, and so he's used to that, and he's used to stepping up and trying to thrive in those kind of atmospheres, right? That's not the only thing, right? So we got athletic background, though, and that could be from Division I football to professional athletics to professional rugby, like you name it. Whatever some of these athletes have done in their history, it's going to play a factor into their ability to perform on game day. Another thing is mindset, right? And I don't mean that just in the 4-day test, but I mean that through years of training, right? Like, what are you doing as an athlete to set yourself apart mentally from other athletes? And so this goes into your day in and day out training. Like, what are your expectations? How do you know how to set those expectations? How do you build upon them? You know, how do you deem a day a success or a day a failure? There are a lot of these athletes out there who have really high expectations for themselves and aren't meeting themselves where they're currently at. And I mean even these athletes at the CrossFit Games. So what this leads to is a year of training that teeter-totters, right? That means they're really high on particular days, they're really low on other days. Not essentially based on their own performance and potential, but based on comparing numbers to other athletes. Successful athletes, those that are set apart in this field, are really good at not doing that, right? They understand that each day is a battle unto itself, that each workout is a separate test unto itself, and that not every day is a sunny day. So what I see at the top level compared to the athletes that fall from about 25th and back is that they're very evenly keeled in regards to their mindset. I mean, there are a ton of emotions, everyone experiences them, but how they deal with them and process them, leave them away from the competition floor so they can perform at their highest is something that is uniquely set apart. Another thing is the way that you approach any given workout on the competition floor. So this is what I would consider gaming, right? And this is the magic, right? This is really where the magic happens in regards to being a top-tier athlete in any pursuit and just being average. Think about some of the workouts that we saw at the CrossFit Games, right? A lot of them involve pacing, and strategy is key here. So how you step up when 3, 2, 1, go and you hear the beep, right? When that goes off, how do you control your emotions and just stick to your game plan? Now, for some people, it looks very different than others, right? Mat Fraser takes off, and he's going to run his own race, but naturally his own race is a lot of times faster than everyone's else. I'll be honest right now, like he's just completely set himself apart to be on a whole nother level in regards to traditional metconning and the way that he performs in those situations. Another great example is Brett Fikowski, right? Second place, taller guy, longer levers. He is blessed with his ability to go long in workouts. And there's a lot of work that he has to do compared to smaller competitors. So what this means is his cycle rate's not as fast. He's definitely not going to jump out to a lead within the first 2 minutes of a workout, and likely, unless it's a pretty heavy workout, if it's only 2 minutes long, for faster guys, like he's probably not going to take a top time. guess what? He's okay with that because he knows where his strengths and weaknesses lie. And you'll watch an individual like this come into a workout and it might last 12 to 13 minutes. And in the first 7 to 8 minutes, he's just another guy in the pack, right? He's mid-pack, he's doing his thing. You might be like, man, why is he putting the bar down? He's taking too many breaths. But he's just playing you, right? He's luring you into a place where you can get the lead and get comfortable, and then he's gonna just walk you down towards the end of a workout. A lot like Rich used to do when he was an individual. You'd see this a lot from him. And that gamesmanship is really special. It's something that a lot of times can't be taught. Because I can say to an athlete time over time, you know, pace this way, do this. But when 3, 2, 1 go happens and it's in their control and emotions take over, if they're led by those emotions, they're gonna come out too hot too fast. So I think a lot of just general ability to control your emotions and game the workouts is literally gonna be one of the things that sets people apart a ton. And again, we could have 2 identical athletes side by side and one have the ability at a really high level that's just that immeasurable talent, and one not have the ability to control themselves and compose themselves in that way. Another thing, and this is probably one of the biggest factors, you've got to be able to train all year, right? You've got to be able to accumulate a certain amount of volume all year. So it's the athletes that balance skill work, practice, intensity, and then also resiliency through their training, right? So what I mean by that is their movements are practiced at this level every day. The way they execute a muscle up, the way they execute a snatch, the way they execute a clean and jerk, the positioning of their feet in their deadlift, right? They are taking the smallest things that average athletes, average placing athletes at the CrossFit Games, those guys aren't average. I'm not saying people at the games are average, they're not. But they're taking the difference in that 25th spot and beyond and taking their focus to a whole nother level. And what that's gonna allow them to do is that when they do run into the areas of the year where they're training in high volume, it's gonna help them because their body is gonna withstand less damage. Does that make sense? So if you guys are here with a barbell and you're training your squat snatch, and every time that you squat snatch, you notice that you can't externally rotate your shoulder and catch it in a stable position. Anytime you get above 75%, what happens when you qualify for the games after regionals and you're snatching this kind of weight on a regular basis? Your shoulders take a ton of a beating, right? Your knees take a ton of a beating because we're trying to replace proper body position or shoulder position with our knees and our ankles and our hips. Over time, this adds up. You got to refine your movement. And those at the top level do this. They move like professionals, they train like professionals, they practice like professionals. So I know I only covered a few. We could probably go into greater detail about this. And again, there are 1,000,001 reasons to why you see the difference between number 1 and number 40 that you do. But all in all, you want to think about encompassing and embodying and the approach of a professional athlete. Like even you guys out there that want to pursue regionals, to do well in the open, you're going to need to move better. You're gonna need to mentally focus. And when 3, 2, 1 go happens, you're darn sure you're gonna need to be able to control your emotions and run your own race, because if you come out too fast and try to slug with the big dogs in the first 3 minutes, minute 9 through 12 certainly aren't gonna go well for you. So go out there, focus your training, maybe take some of this as advice to you and the way that you perform on a daily basis, and get after it.